Farm Advisor. We are Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation, and we want to thank you for being here. We're going to start off with an opening. With the mayor to welcome us in, Mr. Reuben Wood, our vice mayor of Indianola, and speaking on behalf of the mayor, Kenneth Featherstone. You want to come up?
Oh, yes, Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
On behalf of Kenneth, the mayor, Kenneth Featherstone, my name is Reuben Woods, the vice mayor. Someone asked me, and they said, I didn't know y'all had two mayors. No, we don't have two mayors. I just serve and when the mayor is not present. But anyway, I'd like to welcome everybody, and I hope you give a wealth of information from the platform. I know I'm excited about being here. Probably if the mayor's not, so I could be present. But and I hope I wish we could have had a better turnout, but it's kind of slow. I think that you all contacted the mayor, but the mayor, it was kind of like put on the back burner. But right now, we're here, and I hope everything goes. Everybody gathers some information and pass it along to someone else. Okay. But again, I like to welcome everybody, and we are looking forward to you all's forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we're going to have the opening. Larry Lofton, Ag Farm Division Director.
Well, Mr. Reuben, it's clear that you wear many hats. So Alderman Woods, we thank you. Vice Mayor, we thank you for your welcome. And we are happy to be in the city of Indianola. There's a nice drive down for us. We were on the road for a while. But we're always very happy to come out to the communities, where our people are, so that we can share the information that we have learned and that we work with and partner USDA agencies. We're happy that NRCS is present today, and Farm Loan, I believe, is present today. It's unfortunate that rural development is not here, but fortunately for everyone that's present, as well as those who are online, we have our very own Dr. King, who has a wealth of knowledge about rural development. And Dr. King, we do have some interest in the audience about rural development, about developing housing in the city. So we would like to think that we sort of bridge the gap between our organization, Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation, and the United States Department of Agriculture. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has many, many, many programs. As a matter of fact, here's a booklet, and hopefully you will take one of these booklets. This is just on their conservation practices alone. And this is a comprehensive, intensive booklet here. And some folks seem to think that it's not enough information on some of the programs in that book. And I think it's being considered to revamp it, but it's a tremendous amount of program for our residents, for our farmers, for our veterans, for our new and beginning farmers, for our cities, forestry owners, land owners, air property owners. The list goes on and on and on. We assist growers, we assist residents with housing, we assist farmers with their management plans, with development programs that can enhance their property, that can conserve their property, that can build the soil, that protect the soil, and create a profit. Because we understand that a lot of small farms, one of the big issues is generating a profit. And if no profit is being generated, the property is not being is productive. A lot of family members kind of lose interest in it, especially the ones that are not interested, not living in the area or living on the property. But a lot of us realize the value of this land. And thankfully, USDA has developed a program where you don't need to have 25 acres or 50 acres any longer to be a farmer. You can have an acre and be a farmer now. There are what's called micro farming programs that are out there. You can have city lots. You can take a vacant city lot and you can convert that into a produce farm. And there are programs that support that. There are programs that guarantee you funds, and there are programs that assist you with maybe developing hoop houses. A lot of folks refer to them as greenhouses, with irrigation systems. And the list goes on and on and on. Even wells in some circumstances. You can get to irrigate your plants, your vegetables. And there are all kinds of innovative techniques and methods for growing now. Everything's not just grown flat on the ground anymore. You have hydroponics, and you have vertical production, you have raised beds productions, and the list goes on and on. And that's that's what the NRCS is here to talk about, not me. But I would like to emphasize some of the programs with the for residents and housing. There are 502 programs, there are 504 programs. So you have the grant program and loan program. And these programs are designed to improve the living conditions of our citizens and residents in these communities. The grant programs is designed for seniors, I believe above the age of 62. And there's requirements on there, whereas you have to be, your income level has to be at 32,000 or below in most counties. That number may be a little different in some counties. And they can qualify, if they qualify, they can get up to a $10,000 grant to improve safety and health concerns like flooring or steps or windows, doors, maybe even some plumbing or electrical issues. And we want to make sure that these programs, are available to those who need it. And there are also programs that support homeowners or home buyers who are looking to build or buy their first home. You can borrow money to get your first home through the government. And these loans are, they're very good. It's not like going to a commercial bank or having to compete at that level. Some of these programs are designed for the historically underserved population of residents. And I'm going to stop there because I can go, there's so much to talk about, but I would prefer to save time so that the experts can talk about it. So thank you very much.
All right. All right, thank you, Larry. Next, we're going to go on further to what Larry has just talked about. This is what Arkansas Land and Community Development bring to you. And Dr. King, our CEO, will go on further and tell you about the programs and resource opportunities in the outline here.
So good morning, everyone. And let me express my appreciation to the mayor and the mayor of absence and the vice mayor for allowing us to have this opportunity to be here with you in partnership with USDA. I always normally start my presentation off by saying, it's one USDA and it is just one USDA. United States Department of Agriculture, but there are so many components within the context of USDA. So that one USDA and all of the things that they do from a work perspective that represent a very comprehensive economic development type of initiative, particularly for our rural areas. And that's as far as the housing is concerned, as far as land use, as far as financing is concerned, from an agriculture perspective, from housing, from business enterprises, small business expansion, new business development, all those areas. And it's with the agencies that we have here with us, and the resource individuals with those agencies, they'll be talking more about that today. The other area I want to talk about just briefly is that is related to an issue itself. It is barriers, barriers, a barrier that you will find so often in our communities where you have social disadvantaged population, and particularly the minority population. Now, and that's air property. Air property can be a barrier, and I'm sure FSA will tell you where air property comes in or may be in a position to be a barrier for you as an individual when it comes down to accessing resources. The same thing would apply when it comes down to USDA rural development. Air property, if you're talking about housing and accessing those particular resources. Now, with natural resource conservation services, some may say, well, it's not a barrier with natural resource conservation services if you can get past FSA. Now, and so if you don't get past FSA and FSA say, well, no, you can't get a farm number, and you don't have a farm number, and you're trying to get the resources from NRCS, then it's still a barrier because your starting point is with FSA in order to get to NRCS. Am I correct? Okay, so that's the starting point basis. So it's about air, we're talking about from an air property perspective. So we're going to be looking at both the barrier aspects of as an issue in our local community, as well as the resource opportunities. We will also try to respond to and deal with situations where that issue is a barrier and how one can possibly deal with resolution or getting past that particular barrier by working with the agencies that can give you the green light to move forward. Starting FSA and going forward from that perspective. Let me say this also. Whenever you talk about these resources and the opportunities as it relates to the resources of the agency, it also provides opportunities for your local community and from a county perspective and from a city perspective. And I particularly want the city leadership to hear this. And we were just reminiscing some about the way it used to be years ago out on small farms and the cooperatives, and how there was so much more diversity with smaller farmers in producing vegetable produce. And you take the produce and the vegetable to the cooperative, you sold it to the cooperatives, and then the cooperative sold it back out to either a broker distributor of those vegetables to other outlets from that perspective. Well, even during that day, and I used to hear individuals will talk about what that represented for a household economic perspective, and the same thing as it represented from that household economic perspective, it represented also from a community economic perspective. Okay, the dollar amounts, the dollars that was involved, and the flow from those dollars, and how those dollars were being spent either with businesses, it was spent in dealing with other needs for the household, and it was also spent to educate their children. And there was this one gentleman, he would tell a story. He said, and I won't say how many children he had, but it was a large family. He said, all of my children had the opportunity to go to college, and make sure some of the college said that I was able to send them to school based on all the vegetable stuff that we was raising on that farm. I see the vice mayor shaking his head and say, you can relate to that because he comes from a farm. He understands that. I can relate to it also because I grew up on a farm. And I farmed 20 years myself. And we were just having discussions, saying, well, yeah, picked okra, yeah, I picked plenty of that. Picked peas, yeah, I picked peas. Picked cucumbers, yes, I picked cucumbers. Picked squash, yes, I picked squash also. Because that type of diversity existed within our local communities from what we call these small family farms and small family farms. And most of the farms were family farms, they're small family farms. So this opportunity now, when they say sometimes say Back to the Future, if you've seen that particular movie, Back to the Future, then this in some ways is Back to the Future based on where the present those present opportunities that exist as far as creating that type of diversity within your local community. When they talk about the micro-urban farm financing, and when they talk about how to become a micro-urban farmer and the resource agencies that's available that give you the pathway for that opportunity. It may not be one of you that's sitting here in this room. You may be here because I have a concern about air quality. You may be here because I have a concern, I have a desire to know more about housing. Well, you know, I've been in and out of Mississippi for years, and I was talking with the vice mayor, and we got in a conversation about one of the existing organizations, Delta Housing, I think is the name of it, that's here in the local community in the area. And I've been in contact a bit in meetings with them here in Mississippi, and I know that they do some amazing things in the Mississippi area and in this particular community as a whole from a housing development perspective. Well, we have a background in doing that too. You know, we have done housing development, we have built communities, you know, affordable housing, rental properties, and we are owners of those type of properties as an organization from a corporation perspective. But those organizations represent so much as a resource in your local community, not just from a housing development perspective, but also in many other ways. You know, not only do we do agriculture and farm, we do work on that side because that's also a very vital part of community economic development and community economic development growth. Housing is. So is self-employment, small business development, and business enterprise expansions. And these agencies support that type of economic development within your local community. The production agriculture aspect of it is a part of that in your local community, even on those big fields and those large fields that's outside the city limits here. Those are major contributors to the economic growth and the economic well-being of your local community, of your county, and tax paying, and a lot of other ways, both as the producers and those other business enterprises that they purchase their goods from and services from. So that's, again, that's all about. But what we're talking about here now, we're talking about opportunities that exist for individuals to become a part of that type of agricultural business enterprise. That does not mean you'll have a need for a $450,000 or $500,000 John Deere tractor. Our Case tractor, I mean, mention all of them now. Not just John Deere, that's Case also. And I can't think of the others. So what I'm saying, out here promoting John Deere. I'm not promoting John Deere. No, I'm just giving that as an example. Because, you know, man, I bought a Kubota. Okay, so there's Kubota also. There's Ford and many others. But it doesn't mean you'll have the need for that type of equipment to enter into or get into this agricultural arena. To get into this agricultural arena and to be able to say, well, I'm a farmer. I am a farmer. And these are the crops that I produce. And as you know, Mr. Lofton gave reference to, say it could be the size of this room right here. It could be the size of this room. If FSA give you the green light and say, yeah, you're good to go. You got your number. I'm not talking about the lottery now. I'm talking about the farm number. Okay, so we're talking about a farm, right? Farmer. You get the farm number, then you guys gonna say, so if you get the farm number and it's the size of this room, you get the farm number for that, and you have a lease on it, or you own it. Then I mean you are a farmer, and you can go back to FSA on the other side. That's on the program side. You can go back to FSA on the money side. They loan the money now. There's another one that give you financial assistance and support, and they don't loan it. You don't have to pay it back. That's in RCS. But FSA will tell you in a minute. You get the farm number free, but when you get on the other side, what you get then, it's not free. You got to pay for it. You got to pay it back, okay? But then you have access to the micro loans. Okay, so you get a micro loan up to $50,000. They can give you all the details on that, what the requirements are. Natural Resource Conservation Services program financial assistance to bring that farm up to par. To bring it up to par, and the capital of the dollar figures that they will let you have to make that happen. That financial system they will let you have to make that happen. You know, you'll be amazed at how much you can grow on a farm that's the size of this room. And you may be supplying a restaurant in the local area. You may be supplying other market outlets. And as the vice mayor and myself were having a conversation about the farmers market, then you may be going then to the mayor, to the mayor's office. When I'm going, mayor, I'm coming over, I want to come in early to make sure that I get my permit and number to participate and be in the farmers market. Now, why is that important? That's important because if you're going to FSA to get the money that you got to pay back, to get the money you have to pay back, then you have something from the mayor's office and they say, well, how are you, or where are you going to market your produce? How are you going to sell it? How are you going to sell it? Because you got to pay this loan back. You say, well, I've been to the mayor's office, here's my paperwork, and where I have the permission, I can participate in the farmer's market. So I'm going to be selling my produce by way of the farmer's market based on the crop enterprise that I'm going to be producing. So see, all the dots are so connected, from the mayor's office to NRCS to Farm Service Agency, and it goes on and on. So they're going to talk about that, the process and all for it. And if you have any questions that relates to the mayor's office, he said he's going to be here, he want to know more too about it, then he'll be able to tell you about the process for accessing the information of the certification to show that you have the market access by way of the farmer's market. And there are other means where you may be doing marketing as well, on direct-to-consumer marketing and things of that nature. And you may have some others in mind as well, things that I'm not talking about and giving reference to here in your local community. I'm going to stop at that point after this. The other thing we like to encourage them, and this is with the elected leadership, particularly here in the organization, we like to encourage individuals to understand and know more about drones. Now, the city may use drones themselves in certain cases if you're dealing with law enforcement for certain reasons. Some people use drones in dealing with housing, inspection, and things of that nature, but also drones in agriculture, in production agriculture. But let's encourage and deal with the next generation as well as the present generation to understand drones in agriculture, and how important and vital they can be in agriculture, particularly in doing field assessments. And when I say field assessments, if you look at the conditions of the field, and you've signed up, this is what FSA also, but they'll talk more about the NAP program and what we call a risk management factor whenever you get your farm number and start producing, how important that is for you. But to do what's called pre-assessments of farms with drones, intermediate assessment, and post-assessment of those drones. And you don't have to go out there walking, you just fly the drones. You get the assessment operation. If you have plant stress, if you have flood situation that's occurred on that farm, on that farming operation, that creates, and then heat coming in that creates other type of stress with the plant, and even insect issues as well. But you have evidence of that. One of the things about NAP is whenever you file a claim with the insurance provider under that, and that you say, well, my projections that I was going to have whatever the yields is going to be on bushels per acre on squash, on bushels per acre if it's on peas or cucumbers or whichever, and I have a loss, and that loss factor based on my farm business plan is due to the weather conditions, things of that nature, says declared disaster area. Well, if you're able to have someone to fly the drones during those time periods, and you're looking at the pre-basis of the assessment, an intermediate time period, and a post time period on the conditions and what has occurred with those operations during that time period, then you're able to present this information, what the contributing factor was on the pre, what it was on the intermediate, and what it was on the post side of it, and use that as your evidence basis, how it affected you and has resulted in the losses that you have on those farming operations. That's only one example. That's only one example. So it doesn't get to, well, maybe your production practices that created this loss versus these other natural type of weather occurrences and things of this nature that cause the disaster. So drones in agriculture, we promote drones in agriculture. We've been involved in dealing with that for a period of time. We try to encourage it and pass that information on. I've even met people that have gotten that license, learned to fly drones, and set up their own businesses using drones and contracted back with USDA to offer it as a service, working back with farmers. So another example, and I'm going to stop at this point. I know my time is up. Miss Williams would say, "Yeah, I wasn't going to look to the left because I already know she was giving me the signal that my time is up." But I'll be here not only just to talk about this opening aspect of it, discussion as to what we are going to discuss from an agenda perspective, but I'll also be here to engage both with the resource individuals and to work through the whole process with you as participants to make sure that everything that you're looking for and what your goal is for the time that you're taking now to be in this meeting, that it gets achieved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. King. So next we're gonna move on and I'm not sure, Mike, do we have anybody on the line for FSA CED, Robin Richardson? Said that they were gonna be here. Okay, if not, we have some very special representatives here too.
No, if FSA comes on, then we'll bring them back later. If not, we'll come back and talk about, you said FSA?
CED was Robert Richardson was supposed to be here
Okay.
from program side.
Okay, if they don't, then I'll come back and talk about
Yes.
program stuff.
About
Okay.
how you obtain the farm number and all.
Yeah.
Kind of went over. But anyway, we have some interns for with the farm loan program side, and I'm going to ask them to stand. They first time I've had all the interns in the house, and let's give them a hand and encourage them. And you want to state your name and what office you're working in? So some online, they would be able to come and see your face and have the name.
Well, I'm Quentin Watkins. I'm a farm loan officer trainee, and I work in the Greenwood office in Florida County.
My name is Jalen Jones. I'm a student trainee in the Florida County office in Greenwood.
My name is Shamika and I'm a student trainee and we work in the Greenwood office.
My name is David Wade. I'm a student trainee, but I am located in the Greenwood office.
All right, thank you. So we have Quentin Watkins and Jalen Jones. They're gonna present what do they have? And you went on the farm loan side. They are training to be a manager.
Right.
Yes. All right.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Jalen Jones. I'm a student trainee. I'm also a farmer, and I also own my own drone business. I do landscape photography. We're not in the spring yet, but I do landscape photography. I'm going to talk about the youth loan program that we have through FSA. There's a 10K max on the loan. The loan ranges from ages 10 to 20 years old. It must be used for an ag organization, and the loan has to be used in any ag-related field. Some examples will be buying livestock, seed, tools, and anything for the operation. That's all I have.
All right. Hello, everyone. All right. My name is Quentin, like I said before. I'm a loan officer in training. So I'm currently in the process of getting my loan authority to work loans. So I'm going to talk about the other loans that we have. I'm going to start out with our farm ownership loan. It goes up to $600,000. The only thing that is different between that and our others, you have to have at least 3 years of experience. And this experience does not come from, oh, I worked on a farm when I was younger. We have to have 3 years of physical in my hand tax returns or something of that nature showing that you worked and produced or lost, depending. But besides that, that FO, the farm ownership loan, it goes up to 40 years. It's for purchasing land to farm on. So we offer that to you. Besides that, the FO, we can get into the operating loans. That's one of our more common ones. It goes up to $400,000. Our operating loan can go from cattle to equipment to crop, generally anything that you need or can use to help you produce and sell and make a profit. So with that, we can give a term up to 7 years. And then we have a new program that we go along with making loans to where we can do amortization. We can give you balloon installments. We can give you options, basically. It makes it better on the farmer. Because some people we had an issue in the past to where people would get these loans and they'll say, well, all my money I make goes back to the government. We have a situation now that we can work harder to make sure that everybody gets happy. We get our money, you get your money. Of course, we have a specific thing that we can do that allocates savings, basically. We can try to process it. We have to run it through this system every time we make a loan, and we have to see exactly how can we allow the farmer to have a sort of savings. And if it is feasible, if the plan works, we can possibly potentially make a way to give you that loan in the best way we can. Whether it is straight up 7 years or in a balloon installment to where you pay interest only up front and more on the back end. We can do that now. But apart from that, it has to be something for feed or fiber, It has to be either livestock, crops, equipment, something of that nature. We have something called a microloan that doesn't have to go that high. If you give us basically our application packet that says that you want a $50,000 or lower loan, we're going to ask you for less paperwork, basically. It's going to be just 1 year of your tax returns, things of that nature. We don't need all of your details as much for 50,000 or less, essentially. That gives some people more advantage to, actually get started, get a better chance at getting comfortable with farming, essentially. Because that goes for anybody. It doesn't matter how many years that you could be a beginning farmer, and we can work with you with that. Besides all of that, we have the emergency loans. I know you, Mr. King, was talking about the situation to where if a disaster happens, if a disaster is declared in your area and it had affected you, we can basically see if we can get something done. For example, if you have like a silo that you use for your operation and it's destroyed completely and that causes a detriment to your operation, we can give you up to $500,000 to try to cover that. But obviously it's a loan. You have to pay it back.
Right.
But yes, yeah, I have to make sure I say that.
You're lawless.
We make a loan for it to make sure that you can cover that to get your operation back up and running. And that emergency loan is up to $500,000. But yes, and apart from our direct loans, that's what that was. We also have guaranteed. So if you go to your local bank and try to get a farm loan through them, we can also try to work with them and get you a guaranteed fee. So it'll basically protect the bank while giving you the money that you need to start farming. And that loan can go up to 2 million, around 2 million. So basically, essentially, we make loans for livestock, for equipment, for crops, things of that nature. Our crop loans are going to be annual loans. Of course, when you start growing in the beginning of the season, when you finish and sell off at the end of the season, we just expect the money back. And if you can't do that, we have a situation in place to where your crop insurance can cover that payment. So, because we're going to make sure you have crop insurance before we close on the deal. Make sure everything is in check, I promise. But yeah, that's essentially mostly everything that we do for our loans.
But what is our collateral to go along with some of those loans?
Okay, collateral. For anything in microloan range, we just do 100%. So for example, in a hypothetical situation where you get $50,000 or less and you buy cattle or equipment, and we see that the plan works with whatever type of farming you do, we'll just take whatever you buy. So like, if I give you $50,000 and you buy a tractor with it, our collateral will just be the tractor until you pay us off.
Good.
Anything in the FO range or the OL range of those $400,000 to $600,000 ranges, we'll take 100% of whatever you buy, and then we take 25 extra percent
Right.
to try to cover it to make it happen.
25, right,
Right.
that's right.
And I have another question for the person.
Yes, sir.
What's the age of the youth, for the youth that, what's the age requirement for the youth loans?
It's 10 to 20 years old.
10 to 20?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Say, for instance, if you were interested in becoming a farmer, would be willing to purchase land or property, could you use your facility to do that? If you don't have the capital to purchase land?
So that would be fall under FO, and the only really hiccup that you would have is if you have to show that you have farmed for at least 3 years.
Through filing Schedule F on your tax returns.
Right.
But I'm just saying, if you wanted to get started.
Now, to get started and buy a farm, that would fall under a guarantee. You would have, the only thing that they'll allow us to do is you would have to go to a bank. And
Well, that now, in response to your question, one you're dealing with, you want to buy some land, one, and you want to farm, from the beginning farming. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, if on the becoming a beginning farmer, you could qualify up to 400,000.
right.
Okay, up to 400,000 going in as a beginning farmer. And of course, you would justify that based on, the number of acres that you're going to be growing, because they filter in the factors of how much it's going, what the average, and they got these figures already, what the average cost is to produce 1 acre of soybeans, an acre of corn, or acre of rice, or acre of cotton, whichever. They have those figures. So, right?
Yeah, those figures for the budget. Yes.
Right, that goes into the budget, but gets into the feasibility basis of it, either cash flow or doesn't cash flow. The point is that, so you have two things. One, you want to become a farmer, and the other is that, you want to buy some land. But then he has to do that just farming as a beginning farmer for 3 years. So he would actually have access to that $400,000 operating loan. He have to do that for 3 years to qualify for the $600,000 on the FO side, the farm ownership side, then to be able to go ahead and get a loan to buy the land. And normally, I always recommend, suggest to individuals, if there's particular land that you're starting up with as a beginning farmer, and you want to have the opportunity to eventually buy, particularly family land, that you should have at least a 5-year lease on it. And there are other reasons you need to have a 5-year lease on it when it comes down to other program participation, and being able to meet the compliance time period with that particular program you may sign up with, and the NRCS will talk more about that on that. They'll talk more about that. So they can become a beginning farmer.
Right.
They can get access to the 400,000. You can't get access to that other 600,000 until after they have been in the business for 3 years.
Right. To piggyback off what he said, you can become an operator on land without being the owner of the land.
As long as you're funding the operation in a sense, and it's on your tax returns, we can give you money.
Right. So, for example, if you were working the land, but it's not your land, so you're just an operator on it, as long as you can show proof that, hey, I'm leasing this land and I'm working it, you can still get your 3 years because you're actually an operator of that land. You can file taxes on it because you're operating. It's your operating expenses, etc. And then those 3 years add up and you can buy your own. Yes.
you farm family land, but you didn't have a lease agreement. So back then, like my husband's family just had spots and spots.
Right.
And we used to just, me and my husband, just farm all those areas.
Right.
And my brother-in-law had some over there. We did that. We had a couple of neighbors that let us plant spots there. So we didn't do no lease agreement. It wasn't no lease agreement down, but we farmed the property.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand that fine. Two things will happen, and they gave reference to that earlier. If you've been operating a farming and you have not accessed the resources of FSA, and you want to access those resources now, but you have no lease agreement where you lease it, you still have a Schedule F. You reference the Schedule F. So if you have the Schedule F tax returns, the Schedule F will show that you've been running a farming operation on your taxes. Then you take that into Farm Service Aids as evidence. And if you have 3 years of that, and you want to deal with buying land, so I got 3 years of my tax returns on Schedule F, but we didn't have the lease agreement. That Schedule F would be your evidence of your 3-year history on the tax return.
Correct.
Will that work for
Correct.
you?
Yeah.
That
Yes.
was okay.
Any other?
I was asking her question, that's what she said, ask you.
No, go ahead and ask.
So would that fall under the category as like air property or not?
No. You mean on the Schedule F?
Yeah.
No, air property. Now she's given reference to a possibility of whether that was air property, and saying that was air property, and they had been farming it based on verbal agreements. Okay, and it was air property. I sort of had a sense of that. It's what it was. We just been farming our family for land, and so that was no lease agreement. That will not be an issue as much so with FSA as it would be with NRCS. FSA is going to be the tax return. Your evidence-based tax return, if you're going to deal with buying the land and the family's land, as long as you can get all of them to agree to sell their interest, to you on the land, if you get an ownership side, but you're qualified for the ownership loan. On the other hand, if you're dealing with air property and you do not have a lease agreement, I'm gonna let NRCS explain that. If you're gonna sign up to get some money from them, but that you ain't got to pay back, that you may not have been getting, with the farming operations, that get into that's that good money. Now that money is good too, though. Get me wrong. FSA's money is good. I say FSA's money is good as well, but NRCS, they'll talk about that program service financing that they provide, and that particular financing you don't have to pay back. So if you're not participating in those programs, then I would advise you to participate in the type of programs they have to offer. From that standpoint. You do this. I figured you did, but she was explaining the stuff too detailed. Why you farm over here, a farm back over here, and I got a farm over there too that we operate. But them my cousin, they ain't got no lease, but they got good work. They have good verbal agreements. So one thing I know, if they're still farmers, they've been paying the rent. So that's the truth. So Schedule F on that side, Schedule F. It's probably gonna come down to possibly, I don't know. NRCS is gonna explain that and see how they get you through that. But if you use the program, you're already doing what's required with NRCS.
I have the prayer and.
But if you got into the equip program, I know you had to show something to do with that compliance requirements on that.
Got my phone.
No, okay.
I know how to use it. I got everything on my property. As long as it's on your property.
Yes. Yeah, you have the ownership of it. That's it.
But just to finish off on that, long as you you say that you work the land. Truthfully, it's people out there that have agreements like that. Only thing we're gonna ask you for is, hey, go to this person and ask for an agreement saying that you can work this land. You can put $0 on it. We just need it signed and
Right.
agreed.
Right.
And that's it. If you pass the file and have a Schedule F, and as long as the paperwork lines up through the different organizations, essentially, we can get you through.
Well, let me ask you a question. What if they've been going in and they've been certifying their crop every year in those farm numbers? And they can show evidence they've certified for 3, 4, 5 years with those farm numbers and those crops.
Right.
Does that work?
Did they have a Schedule F? If not, we're gonna have to go through extra.
You still have to have an agreement.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, agree.
Even if you certify that you certified for 5 years with FSA, but you certified with FSA as the operator of those farm numbers.
Right. So it'll just basically be a situation of, I just need something that can cover now. So you can say that, oh yeah, I worked these in the past, but the agreement is for, are you gonna continue working that?
Right.
Yeah.
But that's changed from year to year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Trick question.
So yeah, as long as you have the dates set in proper place, then it's fine. As long as the paperwork falls in line, it'll work out.
Everything should work out. As long as the base requirements are intact, you should be able to receive some money. Simple words and simple words.
Yes. Any other questions?
I hope y'all supervisors watching y'all online.
Yeah, trained us pretty good, so yeah. Hope y'all pass the word on everything. Thank y'all.
Is any questions online, Mike? Okay, good. Thank you all so much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Doc, so you want to come in for FSA to CED?
So this won't be long.
Just
Thank you, young man.
get to NRCS.
Well, let me say, first of all, FSA just validated what I said about the drones. One who has experience with drones and he operates drones. And that is really good to see because you have a young person that are you licensed yet?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, so he's a licensed drone operator. So although he works for FSA, after 5 or 4:30, after his regular working hours, you might be able to call him to have him to come out to the farm and fly his drones to get those pictures in that sequence of your pre, intermediate, and post aspect of your operation as a base of building your file in case there is a disaster and you have to file back with the insurance company. But let me just say, risk management, just mitigating risk, reducing the risk when it comes down to farming. That comes through if you're a vegetable producer on your vegetables. You may be a regular farming operation, row crops, and then you may decide that you're going to produce 3 acres or 4 acres. And I know some farmers that actually run some vegetable operation on the side with their regular farming operation. Then Farm Service Agency, if you have not been doing it, you should do it, is go into FSA on their program side. Now don't go see these guys here because they're not going to sign you up. You have to go to the program side and sign up for the crop insurance on your vegetable crops called NAP. So that's normally the uninsurable that does not fall up under the regular crop insurance. Back with the private sector, now you have the private sector, then the companies that you purchase insurance from on your regular crops. But on the vegetable crops, you can go to Farm Service Agency. I don't care if 1 acre, half acre, whichever, and you have your farm number. She said, I already got my farm number. That's good. Then if you're raising vegetables, you should go in the Farm Service Agency and sign up for their insurance, the NAP crop insurance. So if there is a disaster, you have a loss, and you're going to have some expenses, I don't care what. If you produce the crop, up to the point where you get something off of the crop that's been planted, and you don't get what should have been your normal yields from it, and it reaches the level of loss that you're eligible, then that means that's going to be beneficial for you to recapture some of your investments that you put out there with your particular operation. Now the other program, the other one that's on the program side, I think it's called EAW, which is the market. Now you should know this because you're farming, right? Okay, so he is a farmer and he worked. I did that also. I worked for USDA for a while when it was FHA, and I was farming because I farmed for 20 years as well. But that's on the program side as well. But it's a market assistance program. So if you know individuals, if you are, and some in this room I know they are, because they say they farm in all these different sections of land. If you have not gone into Farm Service Agency office to sign up for the market assistance program, and this is for 23 and 24 crop year, you need to go in and sign up for it. If you are a producer, operator, 23, 24 crop year, you should go in and sign up for the market assistance program. Now, this young man, he knows about the program because he farms also. He probably already signed up. And that's no conflict of interest because he's on the loan lending side. But he knows to go in and do that. So that's going to be on the program side as well. So whenever it comes down to the subsidy aspect, I'm going to say subsidy, but the program sides of it, program support sides of it, that's on the FSA farm program side. And you receive the benefit of those program payments, again, from Farm Service Agency. He gave reference to I'm just going to give a quick reference to the emergency loan, a disaster loan. So in order to recoup your operation and continue to keeping you in business. Now, if you have to say, well, okay, if I get a $500,000 loan and I had a disaster and I lost $500,000 and I can't pay back the $500,000, and you're going to have $500,000 more dollars. And that's if you have security. You still got to have security on that disaster loan. That disaster emergency loan, you still have to show the security aspect of it. Normally, the way that works is that if you have a disaster and you have to go in and get an emergency loan, then based on what that loss is, and you owe FSA, the emergency loan pays off that direct loan that one has received. So you become current on this side from your regular loan. And then you get, if you have sufficient security again, then you would get the emergency loan pays off I'm gonna use $250,000, okay? You have $250,000, you gotta have an operating loan for this year, and you owe a debt for $250,000, okay? So if the security is there, then $250,000, that $500,000 will pay the $250,000 on the direct loan side off. And you would have options to get an additional $250,000 for operating purposes. And they do then a restructuring of that particular owed that it gets spread out over a period of up to 7 years. And it may not be 7 years, I'm gonna say 7 years. When I say over 7 years, you have part of that payment coming, and they deal with the amortization, process with that high spreads out as long as you have a cash flow. But that's with the disaster emergency loans. When you run into that comes through FSA as well. But again, the program side, they have the same thing with vegetable producers. Look at how many billions of dollars it is right now. Now she's making me try to read something that I haven't read before I got up here.
No, I'm just saying, yeah, you're right.
Oh, I am right. Okay. On the again, the program side, I think it's like 1.3 X number of billions of dollars with FSA that is available, that the appropriation has been done, I don't know where it is in Mississippi as far as them starting to administer that yet. But those who are vegetable producers, this is going to be with FSA also on the program side, just like with the market support part with the row crop producers. They have the same thing for vegetable producers. You can already sign up for the program market support on row crop. That's if it's on rice, soybeans, cotton, corn, oats, wheat, all of those crops right now. The sign up period is open for those. I don't know exactly where they are now with the sign up on the vegetable, but I know it is in process if they have not already started in Mississippi yet. I know it's in process in Arkansas, and probably most states are going to be sort of on the same page, with that. But that's available. Again, it's a market support basis of it. You raise vegetables, you're a vegetable crop producer, then that will be $1.3 billion. $1.3 billion that was a part of the continuing resolution for vegetable producing farmers, for special crop producers, and this is on the second marketing assistance program payment. Marketing assistance program payments for vegetable producers. That's available now, and I urge you to get in contact with Farm Service Agency program staff individuals to get the up-to-date information on that and where they are at dealing with the sign-up and issuing payments for vegetable producers. So those NAP, one, market support payments, two, on that side. And of course, if when there is a disaster payments, those disaster payments also come through FSA on the program side as well. That's the money if they issue disaster payments with FSA. And that's after you deal with your crop insurance and everything else. I forgot how there's a formula for that too as well. That's all I have on the program side with FSA.
All right, thank you.
She used to work on the program side too, so that's why she can correct me when I'm wrong, gentlemen. Up here, she retired from FSA. I want y'all to know that. So y'all must have done pretty good. She didn't call you out.
Not on farm loans. Okay, thank you, Dr. King. We're going to move on to now that you have gotten the information and knowledge about FSA and how to obtain that farm number, having, identification, having a social security number to obtain a ID, farm service number. So now you want to move on to NRCS if you want to go in their office and go in their programs to hoop houses, irrigation systems and all. So we're going to ask Mr. Taharga Hart. He's an area conservationist in Mississippi here. So let's give him a hand as he comes.
Are we able to hear people online?
Yes, can you hear them or they hear you?
Can we hear them?
Oh, if they need to ask a question.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, speak, yes.
Okay. I can.
Okay.
Good afternoon, good morning.
Yeah.
Like Ms. Williams say, my name is Taharga Hart, area conservationist. Official title is Assistant Conservation for Field Operation. I manage the Delta area, which Sunflower County is one of my counties that I oversee. I do have a district conservationist here in the area, Mr. Trinity Long. Actually, we're in the process of obligating contracts at this time, receiving multiple funding from different funding pools that we're trying to get obligated, trying to satisfy producers that's out there that's needing funding to address the different resource concerns that we offer. I'm going to start out. I tried to jot down as many notes that Mr. King or Dr. King stated, Mr. Lawson stated. to try to cover those. But I want to start out, and I can start here, of letting the producers talk, and let's see what type of operation that we have here that's interested, what your interests are, because I don't want to divvy out into a whole lot of large row crop stuff or in areas that you are not interested in. So let's start right here on the other side of Mr. Lofton, and state your name, what county you're from, and your interests.
My name is Antonio Livingston. I work for the city of Indianola. I'm from Sunflower County. My interest is beginning farming, housing, and economic development.
Okay. Let's go to the other producers on the back there.
Good morning. My name is Donna Preston. I'm in Sunflower County. And my thing is vegetables. And the name of my vegetable farm is J Vegetable.
I'm glad to hear you stressed out. You have high tunnels, water wells. We've been able to find a lot of producers in the small farming area within the Delta area. So I'm very happy that you've been given the opportunity to get funded through NRCS. Next producer.
I'm Anthony producer. I'm Sarah Woods. I'm just here to obtain information because I am interested in becoming a farmer, and I just need the information.
Okay. Do we have any online that want to speak out and kind of give their names and what county they in or their operation, and we'll go from there?
They can, they can if they want to, but.
Do we have anybody online that want to speak out and tell their name and operation, what county they're from and what they're interested in? That's fine. We'll just go on. Just want to kind of give individuals opportunity to speak. NRCS, we try to address a lot of resource concerns across the state and across the Delta area. We address resource concerns on cropland, grazing land, forest land, and the new era is that we speaking here is becoming really big is urban conservation, vegetable farming. First of all, we talked about FSA program side where you have to come in and get eligibility. First, you need to obtain a farm and tract number, and also complete your eligibility farm application and your application and your eligible forms that comes through FSA, like your AGI form, 1026 forms to be eligible to sign up for NRCS program. Once that happens, you will come into NRCS and complete an application, NRCS application for our program. And that's normally a 1,200 application where you, as well as put your name, your operation name, or your individual name, and the date that you sign up, and let the staff know that's in the office what type of program or what your interest is on your operation, whether it's vegetable farming, grazing land, or cropland. We have a lot of different practices in each one of those resource concerns. Starting out with seasonal high tunnel, we have some interest here in vegetable gardening, where you all know that we call share or financial assist on seasonal high tunnels. We do call them hoop houses. Some people refer to them as greenhouses. But they're seasonal high tunnels. The information on those high tunnels is that they extend your growing season. You're able to plant earlier in the winter months, January, February, and you run late into the growing season. I mean, you can grow as long as maybe November, December. It get kind of cold in December, January, but you may have to restart over. Some people have started adding heat in those high tunnels to extend their growing season and grow year round. So those are some options that we have for vegetable farming. We do have water wells that we do, pipelines to run water from those wells to your gardening area. Most importantly, a lot of people don't know is that you have to be in operation. We can't start you into growing as being a vegetable farmer. You have to already be established and growing for us to be able to assist you. When you come into your office, when we come out and do a site visit, we will need to see something growing. Whether, now we speak on growing in your backyard or growing in the urban or city area. We need to see something, whether it's in a pot, in the ground or whatnot. We would need to see that you're growing vegetable for us to be able to assist you on the different practices that we offer in those different programs. I did mention the seasonal high tunnel, the water well. We do some cover crops. Cover crop is big throughout the government where you be able to, for soil health reasons, we establish cover crops on those areas to benefit the soil, to add organic matter to those different soils to help benefit for drainage, for organic matter in your soil and have a better soil for your vegetable plants. Some other ones is 595 pest management, nutrient management, things like that you are able to apply for. And the DCs or soil cons in those offices, if you are interested in those different practices, you're able to come in and sign up for those different practices. They would explain to you what documents or what needed for you to get paid on those practices or apply for those practices to get paid on. You come in, it's a process. We have a sign up deadline. This past year was November the 1st, 2024. Any application that we received during the year up to November 1st, 2024, those are the ones that we are actually contracting or obligating or working on right now. It's a continuous sign up, but we do have a cutoff deadline that we have to have a stopping deadline where we start addressing those applications for funding for the next year. Like I said, when you come in, we do have multiple categories that you can sign up for. Right now, it's called historically underserved. That historically underserved category address beginning farmers, socially disadvantaged farmers, and also limited resource farmers. And what that means is that you have the opportunity to get higher financial assistance from the government. For example, you can get up to 75-90% cost share assistance on your application and contract. So you get 90% of the funds from the government versus 50% from the government as being a regular farmer. Now, I hate to say the 90% because when you apply, the government pays so much. For example, they pay so much per square footage on those seasonal high tunnels. It may be $4 a square foot, $3 to $75. So you want to look at the cost of those high tunnels and see what the assistance you're going to get from the government. And this is an example now. I don't know the exact cost that we're paying right now on those high tunnels per square foot. But just to give you an example, if we give you $4 a square foot and you go price a high tunnel at 2,178 square feet, whatever that price is, the government giving you, when you go to that factory or when you go to that business and price that high tunnel, if the government is paying you $10,000 for that high tunnel and you go price a high tunnel at $14,000, you're going to get $10,000 from the government assistance. And then the rest, the other $4,000 would be out of pocket expenses. So instead of staying out of the percentage wise, you just knowing that this is financial assistance. And those are the funds that you're receiving from the government. It is the higher percentage from the government, but that's what you're paying. And that's on all practices. We have practices that we pay by the square foot, by the cubic yards, by the linear foot on pipes, different by the acre. I mean, you just have to look at the cost that the government is paying to determine your percentage of if you would have out-of-pocket expenses. On your fencing, grazing land practices, if anybody interested on that, we do cross fencing, pond, grass planting, weed control for spraying. Those are, prices that you have to determine what you're getting on from the government on. So on your fencing, we pay per foot on the fencing. To give you an example on that, you will see what the government is paying per foot for fencing. So if we max you out at 4,000 feet of fence, somewhere around $8,000 to $10,000. It would be up to you if you get a contractor to install that fence. Material costs and installation costs comes out of that money that the government gives you. So you would have to negotiate with that contractor to see what he's charging you to install that fence. So if he goes over, if your material cost is $8,000 and he goes over the $10,000 allowed, you would be out of that expense of the additional money that contractor is charging. So that's how the government works. We want to kind of be familiar with those steps and process that we have, because we can't add to it. Once you come in and sign that contract, you're agreeing to that fund. Now, if you have some type of hardship where, you lost your job or some type of health issues, things like that, we are able to get you out of that contract if you're not able to pay. I address the urban conservation, micro, just like loans. Want to hit that too. If you need assistance on paying for some of these practices through NRCS, I think FSA does loan for different practices that we offer. That's a route that you can go to help process those to install those practices. We do offer advanced payments. You can get 50% of the money up front to purchase materials for those different practices. Like if you want to purchase a high tunnel, instead of coming up with that whole $14,000, you can come to us and request advanced payment and get 50% of that money to help you pay for that material. What you have to realize is that you have to do something within the first year of the contract. But once you request that advance payment, we have to put you on a time frame. So you have 90 days to expend that fund. That's to purchase the material. I want to state that because we do have some issue with that. We do have people that get that 50% and they go spend it on something else. And then that's where we have to be kind of aggressive. We have to start sending those nasty letters and everybody kind of get upset. And that's the policy, that's the process that we have to follow through. Once we give that money to you, it has to go to what with the contract that we got or the practice that we have in your contract. I seen people go out and buy a 4-wheeler, put the down payment on the 4-wheeler on a bond, on some things that's not, related to that practice that we have in the contract. So later down in the line, we start issuing letters, trying to get in contact with you to either pay that fund back or either start installing that practice. And we work with you, we go as far as we can to help out with that. But at some point, we have to put a foot down and try to get that money back. And some people get mad, angry, upset, and say we're not trying to help. But that's what we have to do. And we try to stay out of that and try to help everybody. Heirs property, I want to touch on that. We do have a workaround on heirs property, just like this. The producer back, she's been working land. And for example, I'm not sure your heirs property. I'm just using it for example. You've been working land, you've been on that property and working land for a number of years. You have other areas that's out of state or somewhere. Now, I'm not saying that not to go and get your probate and get that settled, but we can work with you. As long as the other heirs agree, you know, it is a point where we have to get signatures from that to get them to get permission to allow you to get a contract on that property. So we have a form that we can get signed, get to you to get signed from the other heirs that's allowing you to work that property. And then once we get those signatures, then you're free to go with contracting, going through FSA and getting that done. And then we can put a contract on that land for you. At some point in the past, if it wasn't settled in court, we couldn't help you at all. But now we can get signatures from the other heirs, giving you permission to work that land. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, if they give me the permit, which I do have limited permission, this is a big family, it's not no 2 or 3 people.
Right. That's where it gets sticky.
That's why you know, you got 2 or 3, no problem.
Right.
Then you got looking at 2 generations here, old generation. But my question is, if I get enough signature to do it, if anything could go wrong with me in the process of working land, or you give me material to do what I need to do, what happens? The land with my thing is I don't want the land taken from the family.
No, I mean we the FSA is on that part. We not there to take your land away. If anything happened, the most we can do is to try to do away with that contract to get you out of what you obligated to. So if you lose the land, or I know you don't want to, but if something happens where heir not sign or come back and say, well, I don't want to give you permission, we can work with you and get you out of the contract. That's no problem at all. If that's what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we would work with you. We don't have any type of lien on your land or anything like that. Like Mr. King say, you know, this is financial assistance. It's not a loan. It's grant money, pretty much what we do. You don't have to pay it back. It's just that you have to realize the amount of money that you're getting from us to pay for these different practices. You may have to add on to it. Just be familiar with that, or be aware of that. It's not 100%. I think since COVID, material costs, a lot of stuff, gas, diesel, fuel, and a lot of stuff has gone up. Pipeline has gone up. The government set their costs on that year's price. And then once everything went up, the government price was kind of still at a level line. So we were still paying down here when the prices of material stuff has gone up. So you have to realize that. But now we're trying to get on that level base. We still not at what everything is costing, because the prices are still kind of floating and going up. So I'm not saying we at 100%. We still a little bit under 100%, I think. Any other questions?
I have a question. I just want to clarify something. So the whole process is you have to obtain the phone number
I'm in track.
before you can come along.
Yes, and you have to bring in your deed. You have to bring in your deed to get a farming tract number. So you have to bring that to the FSA office. They would verify that you actually own the property. They not. You get older gentlemen come in and I'm not bringing my deed in. They're gonna take my property. They just want to verify that you own that property. And what it is, and when we get that farming tract, FSA going to develop their own map, and we use that map to give your property line. And they draw your property line off the deed that you give them. And then that's where it's important that, once we start working with you to install or plan those practices, we're not planning on somebody else's land. We stand within the boundaries of your property line. We don't want to never get off of your property on somebody else's property. They get kind of itchy there too, where if you go and dig on somebody else's property and they look at our maps and we plan something over there, we could be involved on that. So we want to make sure that we're within your boundary, within your property line when we're planning. Digging a pond or starting a pipeline somewhere, we want to make sure that we within your boundaries on that part. So yeah, bring your deed in. There's some documentation that they're going to ask for to get you eligible. If you're an entity, they're going to ask for that entity information. Now you have to fill out a 901, 902 document, stating all the people that's a member of that entity. And they're going to get social security numbers and all of that and get the IN number from that entity. And, you just have to fill out all of that information. Power of attorney, if you need that, they're going to get all the information that they need to sign up. Did I touch on everything that you all brought up? Trying to remember.
I have one question with the heirs. Do you require 100% of the heirs' signatures? Let's say you have 50 heirs you can identify, and you can get 40 signatures. Does that work?
I think so. Now, I think looking back at the farm, the CED used to be, but I think you have to have all the air on.
We used to not.
We used to like that.
Unless they had lease for 5 to 7 years or something, you could do that. 5 years on a lease agreement. As long as they're with the life with that program. Yes. Yes.
Right.
That was the only way they could do it. Not whatever, it could have changed something.
It hadn't changed. I think that's the same. That's the same of it.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the owner. I didn't mention that. You can have lease agreements.
Yes.
On property where you just assign your lease agreement would be beneficial when you come in, and if you rent some property across the way and you're farming that, we can go strictly off lease agreement, which I can get that eligibility through FSA where they would assign you as the operator. I think one of the gentlemen mentioned that here, where you could be an operator on that property and also work that land. So you don't have to be an owner. The thing is that if we install structural practices, pipes, doing some type of land leveling project or any type of moving dirt on that property, you have to get permission from the landowner. So we have a form that you have to get signed from that producer or that landowner stating that he's giving you permission to install those practices. One reason is because of lifespan of those practices. If they install a pipe, upkeep, operation and management is what we call it. So if that operator lose operation over that land, then the producer or the landowner would know that, hey, the government installed their practices and he's gonna maintain the operation and maintenance of that practice for the lifespan. So he knows that practice is on there, and if that producer leaves that property, then it reflects back to the landowner to do upkeep. I started talking about program, but most of these programs, major program is EQIP. I know a lot of y'all hear about it, the Environmental Quality Incentives Program. That's where most of your practices fall in, that we cost share or financial assist on. Now, I do want to speak on the Conservation Stewardship Program. It's more of a 5-year program that you receive funding to enhance that property or enhance those practices that you apply for under EQIP. So it is a 5-year program. This past year, the minimum amount was raised to $4,000. So if you signed up and get approved, you get at least $4,000 a year for 5 years. That's the minimum. And the max is 40,000 per individual and 80,000 an entity. So you would have to sign up to see where you're going to get into that money at. You can get anywhere between as an individual, in between $4,000 and $40,000, just depending on what the enhancements that you sign up for. We have enhancements for cropland, grazing land, forestry, and that's it. Yeah. Cropland, grazing land, and forestry. And it's a list of enhancements that you can choose from. I usually, when a person come in, when I was working in the field office, it was a book of that thick of enhancements. I give it to them and say, hey, go and get under your light in the recliner and look at these enhancements. You don't have to do them all. I mean, you just look at it, you just kind of gear those enhancements to your operation. Forestry, just an example. It may be some daylighting roads, site prep, things of that nature that kind of help wildlife. You can do some wildlife planting and things like that to get some funding through our CSP conservation program. Grazing land, you can do some nutrient management, pest management type practices, management practices that we offer in those programs. And cropland, we're big on tillage, no-till, minimum till things, cover crops. You see a lot of cover crops planted in the Delta area through the winter months. And that's where we try to control erosion, trying to stop erosion and add water where it's the soil to have a better soil for row crop farmers. And also small farms. You know, if they're in vegetable farming, we would like to help them as well. One thing that I didn't mention on small farm vegetable gardening, outside of that high tunnel, we do help with vegetable producers. If you farming 5 acres, 10 acres of vegetables, we're able to kind of help you. We don't buy seeds, you know, we don't do any of that, but we do. In this area, a lot of people have problem with drainage. So, you know, people come in and applying for land level and trying to land level that smaller acres out, trying to get it to drain well. So we do land leveling. It's not as big as a row crop farmer when we're doing land leveling on a row crop operation. And that's the thing on a small operation. It's kind of hard to find a contractor to come in and do small type practices like that. So that's our issue. That's our main issue of having contractors to come in and do small acres. So we offer that. We offer to help that, but that's the main issue. That's the big issue that we have in the Delta here. And on that small acre, we do have where we do water or irrigation pipeline sprinkler system. You know, the heat of the Delta area and water and no rain. We're getting plenty of rain now, but you know, at some point it's gonna cut off. So we do offer sprinkler system. We do have engineers on staff, or you could find an individual that could give you a design on sprinkler systems, and we go by that. Mainly we have in-house designs on sprinkler system where we can run pipeline and enhance your vegetable garden of adding sprinkler systems in that. But you would come in and sit down and we'll work up a design for that. So the planning process get extensive, and you know, it may be something that we can do on an acre basis, and it may be something that we have to sit down and do a pretty much a particular design on. So it can be easy, it can be a little testy. So we want to make sure that your application contract or application include everything that you're needing to be able to help you in the funding. Don't want to stay too long. I have a lot of people tell me I talk too much, talk too long, and there's a lot in the NRCS. Just want to make sure that, hey, if you're interested in anything, go to the field office and we will be able to assist you.
and this has been on my mind. So do you all help with medical marijuana?
Oh. You have to have permission, you have to have a permit. And bring it into FSA before we can even help you.
Yes.
You,
Last year we had a guy come in for it was cannabis loan, and it was like helping out. You gotta have a permit and a grower's permit showing that you can grow that kind of substance here in Mississippi.
And I think that permit comes from our RMA.
Yes, risk
management.
Respect.
So once you get that permit, and then we can see what, because a lot of people want, when high tunnel, that season of high tunnel practice come out.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's how.
No, you already spent a ton.
Yeah, it's worth it though.
Yeah.
I feel like it's worth it.
yeah.
Making some good money.
So you can grow it year round then.
Right.
Yeah, that's because.
So I did have a farm. I used to work the Yazoo County office. And I had a farmer that applied for season of high tunnels. I think he had about 2 or 3 that when they first came out. He was doing vegetables. I mean, he had pretty tomatoes. I mean, just as tall as the high tunnel was, he had tomatoes in there 2 or 3 feet, you know, and on 6 or 7 rows in there, and they were looking good. Pretty red, juicy, whatever. But a couple of years ago, I heard that he had moved into that medical marijuana, and they didn't shut him down. Not shut him down, but you know, he got security around there where you know you can't even go in there. But he's doing good with that.
Grows just like tomatoes, so you know he's doing.
And that's, which county is that?
That's in Yazoo County.
Yeah.
As far as I know, he's still there. I hadn't been there. I hadn't seen his operation. I just heard that, you know, that's what he's growing now. So I hadn't seen his operation, but they said he's doing really good with that. But, you know, people come in and ask about that when it first came out, and that's what you have to have a permit.
Well, that's FSA. You say FSA does financing, but now when they come in and they have their permit, do they also have to show that they have the market outlet that they're selling it to?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, both of you. I was thinking you had to have both of those. Yes. Yeah.
I want to talk about quickly our emergency watershed program, EWP, something that the mayor may be interested in. So we have a lot of rain, a lot of flood events. We've targeted, I don't know if right here in Indianola or whatnot, but during a large rain event, if you have any flooding, erosion problem, EWP has to have a sponsor by the supervisors or the mayor or something like that. So if there's something in your area that you would like to address under the heavy rain events that we've been having, there are funding for that to address. So you have to, like I said, it has to be sponsored by the city or county supervisors, locally sponsored, and then you can apply to address different drainage issues or different flooding issues in the area. Yeah, and that goes through our project engineering office. You all may know Mr. Paul Rodriguez. He's our area engineer, so most of that goes through him. Where we get signed up, you know, when we have large rain events, and that's available funding to help with drainage issues. We do have some wetlands, the WRE Wetland Reserve Easement Program. I want to mention that. I think it was on the list. Don't have probably not had the interest in here, but we do have that program where we address wetlands, and you're able to sign up your farmland, cropland, mostly in that program. You know, they do take a little forest or a little idle land, but most of it has to be farm cropland with a cropping history. And you're able to put it in a permanent 30-year lease agreement or agreement with the NRCS and get paid for that. And it restores it back to wetlands. we restored and a lot of people use that program to kind of restore it and put it back into wildlife habitat. It's a good program. Get a lump sum of money at one time after it's been restored, and then you're able to have ducks or recreation area. So yeah, so hunting rights, you can lease it out for hunting and whatnot. So it's still an income for you. So we do have that program if you're interested in it, and we are in it there.
All right. Right, Dr. King, get with this young man trying to hold your spot.
You know, I always like to be around this guy because I know he's gonna cover everything and he's gonna answer all the questions. He always got the answer to the question.
So you're gonna cover rural development.
I'm gonna cover
So
rural
there's
development.
a lot of interest in here. I think. Want to hear about rural development. I think the young man signed. Okay.
Okay. I want to just say one thing before I do that. A lot of the cities, let's say Vice Mayor, a lot of cities do not know about the watershed program and how it can be beneficial to their local community where you have flooding. And particularly, you know, where you have a heavy population of social disadvantage, individual and minority population. So a lot of reasons we're talking about rural areas, the CNRCS on that. I know in Arkansas, some counties joined together to deal with flooding, and they got approved for almost $100 million to deal with flooding in that area and in those towns. So it's something you may want to do a follow-up conversation about. One other thing I failed to mention on the program side with Farm Service Agency. They also have with Farm Service Agency the CRP program, Conservation Reserve Program, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the Conservation Reserve Program, and I don't know how much they're paying per acre, but when you have marginal land, you can go in and so I think the sign-up period may be open now for CRP. I'm not sure.
Yes, through the program side.
Yeah, it's on the program side. It's on the program side. But you can sign up for the Conservation Reserve Program with Farm Service Agency, and it's on marginal land. If it qualifies, you can put the land into the program. I think it's 15 years, up to 15 years, and they pay you so much per acre, you know, and it varies. In some cases, I do know some landowners who put land into the program, and they were able to get more per acre in the Conservation Reserve Program than what they had been renting the land out for to individual operators. Okay, and these were the landowners themselves. So I failed to mention that. Now, in the Conservation Reserve Program, while you have to sign up for it with Farm Service Agency. Farm Service Agency partners back with NRCS to employ or put in conservation practices. And a lot of times it's basically cover crops or certain grasses and all that you can put on that land for that compliance period. Again, up to 15 years. It may vary, and it can change from 1 year to another year. I know the last time I checked, it's been a while since I checked. It was at a higher level of payment in Arkansas on certain lands, up to I think roughly $100+ an acre on certain types of land. So
I think the soil rental rates had gone up last year. So it's by soil types on your property.
Right, exactly.
So, you're able to plant pine. I think pines is 10 years and hardwoods a 15-year contract.
But now you can do grasses also, right?
Yeah, you can do grasses also as well.
Yeah, yeah. So
on your trees part, it's pines or hardwood. Pines are 10 years and hardwood 15 years.
15
years. You do your grasses if you don't want to plant trees on it. The grasses.
And you can still lease it out for hunting.
Right.
And each county is different, so run rates.
Yeah, right.
I was gonna sell food up.
Well, you can't sell it. Once you plant it, you're under contract, so you can't sell it until that contract expires.
And normally, if you put it in the conservation reserve program, you plant trees and stuff, when you say that 10-year, 15-year time period, you're not gonna have anything that's marketable, before that compliance period is up. And it may be 5 years, softwood, but about 15 years, maybe another 5 years or so after that, before you have marketable, type of timber. But I said that's done in cooperation with NRCS. And if you're dealing with trees, I always recommend you have a team of both FSA, NRCS, and Forestry Services, because that plan, your production plan, that's the agency that does a good production plan if you deal with trees being planted for the Conservation Reserve Program.
When you're dealing with pine, we do have a clause in there, a plan where we able to thin. You can thin your pine, but that funding is used that way,
Operation.
Operation part.
Okay.
I have a CRP on my property.
You do, okay.
For grasses, up to 5 species of grasses for 10 years.
10 years on grass. Okay, so you gonna keep your other farm production, you take it out and start farming it. Okay. Yes, sir.
So what if you have an existing wooded area, you couldn't put that into the program?
No, it has to be
property.
No, it has to be crop production land. Crop production land. But if you have a wooded area, I would still recommend you get a forestry service, get a forestry plan done on it, and to see if you have any marketable timber in there. And they can also still put in place a type of forestry practices. And if you're putting in some conservation forestry practices, you still need to see Forestry Service and NRCS. Because he gave reference to, in the conservation program, they have forestry conservation practices as well, that they do the cost share. Am I right?
Right.
On that. So
then under EQIP and CSB, I mean, you have fire plan on CSB. That's a 5-year program that I was speaking of, where you want to do some management practices on the forest.
which is the conservation stewardship practice. The CRP, the conservation stewardship practices, your forestry land could qualify for. That's understood. That's NRCS. I'm getting confused now. CRP is FSA.
But
Generally, conservation, CSP is NRCS. But you can put forestry, there is a program to put forestry into under the CSP program. Now, that still apply for the minimum $4,000 a year payment, which is with that minimum $4,000 a year payment. Employing the practices based on the plan that they put in place for it.
It's very popular.
It is. It is. A lot of people have that for, and they don't know about it. They have forestry down 20 acres just sitting there, and they have not signed up for the CSP program to get that payment over that compliance period. Let's get to RD. USDA Rural Development. USDA Rural Development offers a lot of programs as relates to community economic development and housing. So often gave reference to two of the programs in housing, the 502 and the 504 program. And the 504 program is both a grant and a loan program. On the 504 program, individuals meeting the eligibility criteria, which has to do with both age and income, you can do up to $40,000 with a direct loan at a 1% interest rate. Then they have, as a part of the 504 program, they have a grant part of that, which is up to $15,000. And the program is designed to deal with anything from safety and health hazards with a particular home. It could be an electrical issue, need rewiring, that's expensive right now. It could be a roofing situation, because you're getting dampness and mold buildup, creates mold situations in the house because the roof is leaking in certain places, the moisture and stuff is getting to the house, to the attic area, and then on down to the ceiling area. But that's an example as far as things that you deal with that may be contributing to health factors as relates to the condition of the roof and things of that nature. Okay, from a health perspective, safety perspective, that's if you got a bad electric situation, you got a safety issue. Okay, from a fire, it could be water heaters also, things like that. It could be that you have the wrong type of piping, and they do an assessment on the house and the type of, you may have lead pipe and things of that nature for the older house, and you have a plumbing issue that you need to deal with because it could contribute to have bad effects on your health, and contribute to health issues again. From the plumbing perspective, it could be a tripping situation as a hazard, where you need to redo your floor because you have a down area and up area, because the beams underneath the house has gone down as a result of just over the years of age, and that have new beams, so an individual won't trip because of the condition of the flooring that's in the house. Again, you're talking about a safety situation from the housing perspective, but it's $40,000 of direct loan, 62 years of age or older, and an income criteria they have with that. $15,000 in a grant. If you're dealing with new construction, an individual wants to build a new home, not an age factor, but there is an income factor on eligibility, and I don't have the income chart. But the maximum loan amount for a house now, I think, is $417,000. Am I right, Ms. Williams? $417,000 that an individual can get this affordable housing loan with USDA rural development. That's a direct loan from RD up to amortization over 30, 40 years, 30 years, I think normally is what they normally do those loans on. And that's whatever the going interest rate may be at that given point in time. I don't have that before me now, but the interest rate's a lot more affordable in comparison to your traditional lending source with the banking institution or maybe a mortgage company or other sources of financing for housing. There are other programs with housing. They don't have what's called a first-time home buyers program, but they normally the states have first-time home buyers programs, and probably with Mississippi Development Finance Authority. I know Arkansas Development Finance Authority has a first-time home buyers program. I think up to $25,000. There may be closing costs and down payment assistance and things of that nature. So if that is the same in Mississippi, or the dollar amount would be the same, then you would need to contact that particular authority. Although you don't, all that cost is covered with your direct loan though with USDA rural development. You go to a bank, it may be a little bit different thing, but rural development also does the guarantee loan with the traditional bankers. Eligibility may vary a little bit on that side, but then the bank was going to provide the loan directly, based on what the interest rates are, amortization, interest rates are going to be different, but you can get with rural development, the bank would work directly with you and with the understanding, because the bank becomes the customer then through rural development, although they're going to be guaranteeing up to 90% of that particular loan. In finance. And I always encourage, particularly young people, now's the time, particularly if you fall into those income categories or eligibility, now would be the time to deal with looking into your ability to purchase a home. The other program they have with the city, and I'm sure the city knows about that, rural development is one of the largest finance, if not the major finance for most rural small towns. If you deal with infrastructure, water sewer systems, fire stations, safety, equipment, security, fire trucks, police cars, community facilities also. Now they have both the grant financing and the loan financing depending upon the area and the average income for that particular area. Most cases though, they'll give possibly part grant and then the remaining balance that being in a loan based on that determination of the feasibility of that particular municipality in dealing with the payment of the loan side of it. Again, that's infrastructure, water, sewer system, expanding water system, expanding sewer system, putting in, new system. And I just give you an example, sometimes you have an assistant mayor, vice mayor, when we were talking about this particular housing agency that's doing development in this area. So Delta Housing, Delta Housing. It's an amazing organization. They've done a lot of work in Mississippi. The people that I've been acquainted with, I've seen the various meetings that they talk about their housing program because we're sort of in their common lane from that perspective. But it may be development companies that are linking into building an entire community and area, and then based on as communities develop and expand and more housing go in, a lot of times the cities have to upgrade maybe their pumping stations at the city. Or do an extension if they're annexed in certain land and the development is going out in that area, they may want to expand both their water and their sewer system to service that development of that particular area. So that's just another example of the type of resource that USDA rural development has to offer as it relates to economic development and as it relates to housing. They also offer business loans. Individuals that may have an existing business and want to do a business expansion, then USDA rural development would be the source of the agency to go to for that. And all of these agencies, they're in the same location under the USDA Service Center. So rural development will be in the same location where you can find FSA and NRCS office locations as well. If they're not there, then the ones that are there contain the office area, the center where rural development is located. Along with the community facilities loan grant program, the business enterprise loan program, and the business enterprise grant program. In some cases, municipalities have worked with businesses. It was a business expansion where the city applies for the grant program to support that business expansion taking place. It may enable the development of the expansion of that business to become feasible or to actually take place. So the city applying and the business themselves apply. And the reason I say that under the grant program, that normally on the eligibility side is either with the municipality, the city, or with a nonprofit community development organization. Delta Housing will be one that could possibly qualify if they're dealing with economic development from a job creation perspective and working back with the private sector business enterprise. So for both expanding the business and job creation on the grant side, and in certain cases, and you really have to have a very good application on that marketing strategy based on the product line of what's being developed or what's being manufactured. It may be with a new business startup. Yeah, you're going to have a good partnership with the city. Either way you go, pick the new business, but they'll deal with permits and everything else, and meeting whatever the city requirements or ordinance that they may have in place as relates to that new business development. That's some of or most of, but I do want to give reference to the part with the food pantries and farmers market. USDA also finance farmers markets, and they finance or can provide financial support for food pantries. I got a new name for them now. I'm not gonna say that because they don't be talking about the new name. No, I sent Janie and Larry about a 67-page piece. Somebody get in my writing mode. Some I've been working with. I'm just calling them food market hubs. But food pantry, on the food pantries and on the farmers market. Ag marketing services. Ag marketing services is another agency with USDA. You don't have the local offices here, but you can work back with, if you're working back with the cities, and rural development with ag marketing services. You could work from a community economic development perspective to get grant funding from ag marketing service. I would strongly encourage you also, if the city is going to do that, and the organizations are working in partnership with the city, that you also partner with Mississippi Department of Agriculture. Because the Department of Agriculture can be a major resource for accessing the ag marketing services, financing for those type of economic development initiatives, both with the farmers market as well as back with food pantries and other, as well as other areas, be hubs as it has to deal with both food safety, food security, and food distribution. That's the biggest for those are the so the bolder points that exist with RD. Again, housing. I'm going to mention this because you have an agency in your area, and partnerships are very, very crucial. Delta Housing, and I'm not trying to give Delta Housing no work to do either. So, ma'am, Mr. Wood, I want to make sure you let Delta Housing know. I wasn't over here trying to get a little assignment. I don't want y'all to mention Delta Housing. That guy came over there trying to get y'all some work assignments of what y'all need to be doing. That is not the case. I'm providing you this information so you know the type of resources that's out there. And this is also for the city leadership. Banks can be major resources in dealing with the housing issue, even from a grant perspective. I gave reference to the loan side and the grant side of the program of housing rehab, working with RD. Along with the Vice Mayor gave reference to one program they were doing here. I don't know if they're doing it now, but RD also has a self-help housing program. They do the self-help housing and they do the home preservation program as well. That's a grant program. They normally operate those programs or fund those programs through nonprofit organizations. Y'all have an organization here that's been doing that as developers, both on the self-help housing program. Vice Mayor said they've also done preservation or renovation programs. There may have been a combination of the preservation program with USDA rural development, a combination of all of the above, both the preservation grant program administered by the nonprofit, as well as the RD rehab loan program, 1% interest rate on that particular one. But the other is Federal Home Loan Bank, a bank which has to be the applicant that's submitted into Federal Home Loan Bank. Some individuals and the housing agencies over here may have done those, where you can apply for and possibly receive up to $2 million in grant dollars for doing affordable home renovation. Now, what does that mean? That means if you have an organization and you're partnering back with the city and a nonprofit organization working with the bank in partnership with the bank, submit and get that particular grant, then they can use that grant as a part of the layered financing to do home renovation. And that means that you have a partnership with USDA rural development, and you have a letter of intent to support that particular application with the bank, and that they're going to be supporting or working with the community and people in the community to address the housing renovation need, and then the city have a support letter with that going to the bank. With that combination, that adds a lot more in what I call doing your layered financing to do comprehensive rural home renovation to address safety needs as well as bringing housing understanding. That's pretty much all I have on the USDA rural development side, unless there are some specific questions that you need some clarity on. Yes, ma'am.
If you wanted to sell a product at a farmer's market, how would you go about it?
If you want to set up a farmer's market,
Yeah.
you start with your city. If you want to set up a farmer's market, one got the permit. But one, if you want to look at doing a farmer's market, unless you're just going to do like if an individual is going to have a farmer's stand, you're going to be within the city limits, one. So if you're going to be within the city limit area, one, I start with the city to, and understand what the requirements are from the city perspective, any type of permit that may be needed, or you can set up that, say, as a small scale farmer's market where you're going to be selling from. If you're talking about a farmer's market as a whole, as I understand it, here is that the farmer's market, the city has a farmer's market. And in order for you to participate in that farmer's market, then you have to go through the mayor's office to get I don't think it's a permit, but you have to get a permit then to participate in the existing farmer's market. So if you're going to be a part of the existing farmer's market, then you have to go to the mayor's office and make sure you have your permit to operate within that farmer's market community that they have established. If you're going to establish and I think I got it right from what you were saying, if you're going to operate and set up, so you want your own farmer's market, how you're going to set that up, sort of as a private business perspective, you're going to have to do the same with the city.
What about in the rural?
In the rural, oh, well, I don't know about rural now. If you got me on that one.
If she wanted to sell something, just.
The selling on your farm, selling from your farming operations, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Roadside.
yeah, well, yeah, you have roadside stand.
Yeah.
I still want my business.
Roadside.
Yeah, so I see those quite a bit, more frequently now when they have the roadside stands, and they're selling directly from the roadside stand. I don't know if there's a county requirement on that, but I do know most cities and the ones that I've talked with, there's a permit process in dealing with the farmers market. So it's just a matter of making sure you have your supply. So I always know which supply is, you're able to promote it based on what you're going to have and what you do have at your farmer's market or at your farm stand, and have a good marketing strategy for it. But now, if you ask for financing on that, that was your question.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, financing would be good though.
I don't know if it'll finance. Well, let me just say, if you're the producer and it's going to be your market, but if you're the producer, you're the farmer, give reference back to farming, then you're gonna go back to FSA, make sure you have a farm number, and then to deal with producing your crop that supplies your farmer's market, which is back to a statement I made earlier, then that would be FSA for your operating loan on your production side. And then that would be a part of your plan as far as your marketing strategy is concerned. So, well, how you gonna sell your crops? Where you gonna sell your crops? Then you have to show I'm gonna sell it from my market, from my farmer's market, direct to consumer marketing is my marketing strategy for everything that I'm going to be producing. But you be back at FSA on that. Sorry about that. I forgot about that financing side.
And I don't think we don't charge a fee for some of the farm.
Right, that was, and I know it varies. That was just questioning him when I got here about the farmer's market, what they're dealing with on the Herbert farm side. But that was a note, and all cities don't do that, but there's a no fee basis to be in the farmer's market here in Indianola. What is
You can't
it?
have
I mean, for your permit, no charge for the permit, yeah.
Yeah, you know, the one that we have on the corner of Second and Front Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you have to have me.
I'm thinking that one time, and I might be wrong, but I don't think we charge anything, but.
I charge them still need to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let y'all deal with that.
Well, he know more about, we don't charge people.
No.
Thank y'all very much. I really enjoyed this. I always enjoy being here. Thank you a lot.
Great.
All right. Just want you all to know there's refreshments over here, when you go out the door, make sure that you get something. Right, water, chili, and so on. And thank you, and have a safe trip back.